If there's one thing that I think defines cinema in the late 2000s and early 2010s, it's franchise-itis. Harry Potter had just dominated the box office for over 10 years, and every production studio was salivating at the mouth, eager to replicate its success. Twilight, The Hunger Games, Marvel, Fast and the Furious, and Transformers are all some examples of film franchises that managed to find their footing. Percy Jackson is not.
You're not in a wheelchair. You have
a real horse's ass.
Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, is not just a mouthful, and it's not just a movie that failed to spawn a successful film franchise, but it's a movie that crashed and burned in spectacular fashion. Seriously, fans of this book talk about it like it's a family member they've had to excommunicate after an incident at Thanksgiving. Even the book's author, Rick Riordan, seems to hate the movies with a burning passion. But really, how bad could a movie about Greek gods and their children living in the modern day really be? Really bad. The answer is really bad.
You were some weird hybrid man-goat thing. Whoa. Yeah. The politically correct term is satyr.
And as someone who was 12 in 2010 when this movie came out and was a huge fan of the books, I think this is the first time I went into theaters super excited and left a miserable disappointment. Which is especially insane when you consider how clearly set up Percy Jackson was to take Harry Potter's throne in the cultural zeitgeist. 20th Century Fox wanted Percy Jackson to be the next Harry Potter so badly, they brought in Chris Columbus, the director of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And somehow, they still managed to screw it up.
I like the books. They're fine, but I think I can make them better. Mistake.
But what actually made the movie so bad? Well, to start, let me just preface, I do not believe in the excuse, oh, it's not faithful to the books. By nature, a movie adaptation has to change things from the original work. Whenever art shifts medium, changes need to be made to suit that medium and play to its strengths. There are plenty of book-to-movie adaptations that are not faithful to the source material and are still considered really good. The Percy Jackson movie is not bad because it is unfaithful to the books. It is a bad movie because it cannot commit to being unfaithful to the books. If you wanted to change the tone and message of the story so the movie is a unique experience for fans and newcomers alike, that's fine, but you have to follow through. The team behind this movie simultaneously changed too much, but not enough, so the entire narrative is just this disjointed mess that doesn't make any sense.
Mistake.
Unless you had read the book the movie is based on, you are not going to understand what is going on and why things are happening, and if you have read the books, a lot of the changes are so mind-numbingly stupid that you're just gonna be frustrated. But unlike this movie, I'm not just gonna tell you, I'm going to show you. Because nothing is a better example of this than the very first scene in this movie. We open on a New York City where, just like every night, a strangely dressed man is walking out of the ocean, and oh, cool, we're not even trying to hide the fact that gods exist in the world. Zeus and Poseidon are having an argument because someone stole Zeus's lightning bolt, which is a thing that can happen apparently. And somehow, in Zeus's mind, the only possible suspect is Poseidon's child, who he's not even allowed to see.
I haven't seen him since he was a baby. He doesn't know me or even know who he is because of you.
If your son is the thief, I will send him to the depths of Tartarus.
And if Poseidon doesn't return the lightning bolt, Zeus is prepared to start a civil war among the Greek gods that will ravage the entire world. So this is a scene that's not in the books. Instead of being faithful to the novel and revealing that Zeus's lightning bolt has been stolen a third of the way through the story, this scene was added to help focus the narrative and introduce the central conflict at the very start. On paper, that makes a ton of sense and is a great addition. But the problem is, in an effort to change things, they've cut out so many plot points and characters, they've forgotten to actually give Zeus a reason to suspect Poseidon and his son. For some reason, in Zeus's mind, the idea of any other god, monster, titan, or half-blood being the culprit who stole his lightning bolt is impossible. It makes it so that the entire events of this movie just revolve around a forced conflict where Zeus is trying to incriminate Poseidon's son for some reason, I guess. Oh, and who might this son be? Well, that's Percy Jackson, of course. He's just your average teenage boy. He struggles with learning disabilities like ADHD and dyslexia, he doesn't have many friends, he feuds with his stepdad, and he spends his recess sitting underwater for some reason.
Wish I could spend all day in the water instead of this place.
Right? It's like high school without the musical.
Now, if you've read the Percy Jackson books and you've managed to avoid this dog shit movie for 15 years, you might be scratching your head because something seems off. In probably the most controversial choice the creative team on the movies made, Percy has been aged up from 12 to 16 years old. This is another choice that I don't think is terrible on paper, but they clearly failed in the execution. Aging up characters allows you to cast a wider range of actors who more often than not are better at acting than their 12-year-old counterparts. I've also read that director Chris Columbus, after decades of working with child actors on Home Alone, Harry Potter, and The Goonies, was really burnt out on working with kids. Not only did even the best kid actors require a lot more hands-on directing, but because of child labor laws, it also limited the hours they could shoot, which caused a lot of production issues. And also, as someone who's babysat before, fuck them kids. The issue is when you change a character's age like this, you also have to change the plot of the story to fit an angsty 16-year-old protagonist versus a whimsical 12-year-old one. Because if you don't, it's just gonna make your main character genuinely unlikable. For example, when Percy's class takes a field trip to the Greek mythology museum, we as the audience watch as the day before he tells his mom he is trying his best in school but is struggling because of his learning disabilities. But then we see that instead of listening to the lesson by Mr. Brunner, who is supposed to be his favorite teacher and mentor, he instead fully ignores the lecture and listens to music. And I understand that everyone's learning disabilities manifest in different ways. I have ADHD myself, but every interaction Percy has with an adult is just filled with such hostility.
But someday it'll all make sense.
Really? When? Tonight? Tomorrow? When?
Am I supposed to believe he has a positive relationship with these characters who he's been nothing but rude to? He wants to ignore teachers and laugh at his best friend Grover's sex jokes, which, to be fair, is just a lore-accurate teenager. Speaking of lore, while on his field trip, Percy gets attacked when one of his teachers turns into a monster and throws him around a bit. That is until the aforementioned Latin teacher Mr. Brunner shows up and says, "Stop!" And thankfully the monster listens to him for some reason. But now Percy's best friend Grover, without explaining what's going on, tells Percy that the whole reason he's become friends with him is that he's been tasked as Percy's protector and that they need to get his mom and go to a safe place. Now let me ask you, the audience, if you were in Percy's shoes right now and you've just had this traumatic experience, would you A, ask Grover what the hell that flying monster was? B, ask Grover what the hell a protector is? C, ask Grover where he's taking you? Or D, make a joke about how Grover can't be a protector because he's disabled?
Maybe you're not seeing what I'm seeing. You have crutches.
You know how nowadays everyone complains about how quippy Marvel movies are? Like if any piece of media has too many one-liners, they'll call it like Marvel tier writing. This is like Nickelodeon sitcom level writing.
It's a powerful weapon. Guard it well. Only use it in times of severe distress.
This is a pen.
Anyway, Grover gets Percy, they find his mom, and hop in a car to head to safety. Where is safety, you might ask? Well, they're taking him to Camp Half-Blood. Where is that? What does that mean? Who are they running from? Well, Percy doesn't need to know. I get that from a directorial standpoint, the goal is to get to the magic adventures as fast as possible, since that's the interesting part of the story. And I understand that they probably didn't want to slow the pace down with exposition, but if it comes at the expense of a comprehensible narrative, then what's the point? I guess we'll never know since it's time for another CGI monster attack, this time with a Minotaur.
Is it me or is it raining cows?
Thanks, Grover. Okay, so I've been really harsh on this movie, and I feel the need to say something nice because I'm trying to be a positive person. And currently, the best compliment I can think of is the CGI monsters don't look terrible. Like by 2010 standards, the Minotaur looks pretty good even if the fight scene is super dark in general. The only times where I thought it was laughably bad are when the monsters have to physically interact with people, because then it kind of looks like a 2010 YouTube video. Anyway, the Minotaur grabs Percy's mom, who then disappears into a flash of red vapor. Now, if you can't tell by Percy showing absolutely no emotion, he thinks his mom is now dead, so he's going to try and fight the Minotaur. Emphasis on the try. When Percy wakes up from his injuries, he's in Camp Half-Blood. And who cares about his mom dying? There are cute girls around.
Ooh. The daughters of Aphrodite. Okay, all right, guys, you guys got a lot of catching up to do. Their mother's the goddess of love, so you know where that leads. Hey, baby! It's my fault. It was my job to protect you. Both of you.
If I had to pick one aspect of this movie that really dropped the ball, one place where if this movie nailed it, I could forgive all of its other faults, it's probably with Camp Half-Blood. This was supposed to be Percy Jackson's Hogwarts. And if we're honest, Harry Potter wouldn't have half the success it did if Hogwarts wasn't this intriguing, magical setting that made every kid who read the books or watched the movies want to explore it themselves. And in the Percy Jackson books, Camp Half-Blood actually accomplishes this really well. Author Rick Riordan went to great lengths to develop the setting as this fantastical place with unique rituals for eating, kids who get sorted into cabins based on their parentage or whether or not they even know who their godly parent is. The camp director is the god of wine Dionysus, who is forced to be here as a punishment. And the book went to great lengths, using half of its pages to establish this magical camp that was full of wonder, one that kids wanted to explore and could give birth to hundreds of stories. Movie Camp Half-Blood, on the other hand, sounds pretty terrible. In Movie Camp Half-Blood, you are in danger of dying around every corner since there are no archery safety regulations and apparently 30-year-old men who attend. And they've replaced all of the interesting world building and unique locations with Percy brooding by the docks and Grover being down bad.
Thanks for inviting me, ladies.
Beat it, nymphs.
Wait, don't leave. Ladies, I'm available.
But you know what? Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe the movie Camp Half-Blood is awesome, but I wouldn't know because we only spend 20 minutes here. If you're going to cut down on the lore of this location so much, why include it at all? In fact, it feels like a lot of the residents of Camp Half-Blood actually hate the camp itself, with one camper, Luke, who trust me, we'll talk about later, saying he prefers playing video games like Call of Duty over literally learning how to use his magical abilities. What an amazing way to show kids they want to go to this camp. Camp Half-Blood, almost as cool as Call of Duty. Even the one cool Camp Half-Blood activity they do show here, which is a capture the flag war simulator,
Watch out. Whoa, that's a sword, that's a sword.
is completely undermined by the fact that everyone decides to stop playing the game and watch Percy fight his love interest Annabeth. I'm sorry, no one, including the adults, are going to step in and stop an untrained Percy from bleeding out on the ground because, in their words,
This is the best part.
what do you mean this is the best part? Someone save him, he's gonna die! I thought this was a game of capture the flag. The flag is right there, somebody grab it.
Oh, you guys take camp way too seriously.
Luckily, we discover that Percy is able to heal himself since this is a convenient time that his godly powers manifest, but none of these people knew that would happen. Actually, did they know that would happen? Can everyone do this? Is Percy being the child of one of the most powerful gods there is a big deal? Because even Percy doesn't seem surprised he has freaking superpowers. Why should we, the audience, be invested in this when the characters in universe don't even seem like they care? It really felt like this movie had a checklist of things they wanted to accomplish and was more concerned about doing those things rather than the how we actually got there. And because of that, the characters themselves don't really feel like they're real people, have any motivations, or are even really experiencing the things we see them do. When it's revealed that Mr. Brunner, Percy's Latin teacher, is secretly the mythical centaur Chiron, it's supposed to be a huge reveal for Percy, but we've never been shown these two to have a positive relationship. But let's not pretend any of the relationships in this movie make sense. Annabeth hates Percy for some reason, but then he beats her in a sword fight, and now they can't stop flirting because this movie has to have a teen romance, right?
I definitely have strong feelings for you. Just haven't decided if they're positive or negative yet.
God, how they butchered Annabeth in this movie. Speaking of butchering, after the big capture the flag victory, there's a huge party and feast, which of course gets crashed by Satan. I mean Hades, who reveals to Percy that his mom is alive and in hell, I mean the underworld, and he'll give her back on the condition that Percy gives him Zeus's lightning bolt that he stole, which is impossible since Percy is not the lightning thief. But that's not gonna stop him, because Percy, after being in Camp Half-Blood for about 12 hours, decides it's time to run away and rescue his mom from the underworld. Somehow. Seriously, what is Percy's plan supposed to be? Percy just found out that Greek mythology was real a couple hours ago, and now he's gonna try and save someone from Hades, the king of the underworld. Does he even know where the underworld is? Chiron told you to sit still and that they would try to talk to Zeus and prove you were innocent and then ask for their help in getting your mom back. That's actually a pretty good plan. It's better than just leaving and hoping something works, right? But no, we need Percy to be this rebellious team who disobeys orders and goes his own way, with Grover who decides to go with them. and Annabeth too, who's also here, I guess. Now, thankfully, Annabeth makes her one contribution to the movie by saying, hey, wait, maybe we should ask someone for help. So they head to Luke, you know, the guy who plays Call of Duty on 4 monitors for some reason. Luke provides them with a specific set of tools for their journey at hand. They get a shield, flying shoes, and a map showing the location of something called Persephone's Pearls, a magical object that will help them escape the underworld, since
getting in's the easy part. Getting out, well, that's tricky.
Yeah, Luke isn't actually going to tell them where the underworld is, but the map they have that shows the pearls will apparently tell them once they get all 3. And I think this is the one thing that most people hate about the movie. These goddamn Persephone's pearls. And I don't hate the existence of the pearls as a device to escape the underworld. There's a very similar plot device in the novel that accomplishes the same thing. My issue is that over half the movie's runtime is dedicated to getting these pearls. Movie Percy Jackson does not care about finding Zeus's lightning bolt and stopping the Greek god civil war. He just cares about finding Persephone's pearls and rescuing his mom, which would make sense if the movie wasn't titled Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. It also makes the magical encounters have a lot less impact. Every single one of the pearls is guarded by a different mythological danger. You have a Hydra, the Lotus Casino, and of course Uma Thurman Medusa, all of which Percy, Grover, and Annabeth have to deal with.
Heads up.
And while a lot of those encounters are the same ones they have in the books, those were completely by coincidence. Medusa just happened to be lurking at a truck stop on the side of the road. The Lotus Casino was just a hotel they stopped at in Vegas, which helps establish that the entire world has magic and danger lurking around every corner. But now, Percy, Annabeth, and Grover are specifically seeking these encounters out, so it's frustrating when they're still surprised that each of the pearls is guarded by something dangerous and they could die at any moment. That is, if they don't have Apple products. Oh no, we can't look at Uma Thurman's Medusa face or we'll turn to stone. Why don't we look at a reflection in the back of my brand new iPod Touch? I really love the fact that the biggest thing dating this movie is the existence of the iPod Touch. Oh no, we can't figure out how to use the magic shoes Luke gave us. I'm glad we can FaceTime him using our MacBook Air. That way Luke can tell us the trick to using the flying shoes is to run! This movie is so bad. The most interesting one of these 3 side adventures is the Lotus Eater Casino, which is a fan favorite. And I would even go as far as to say it's like the one good part of this movie. Based on the Lotus Eater myth, the casino tricks its guests into staying there forever with its use of constant distractions, its lack of windows and clocks, and its intoxicating atmosphere. It'll then freeze you in time and feed off your energy forever. It's an awesome bit of world building because anyone who's ever been to Las Vegas knows that real life casinos use these same tricks to keep you gambling. Now the movie did make a slight tweak from a magical hypnotic atmosphere to actually just drugging teenagers with little cookies, but I actually think that's a good change that works better for a visual medium. But none of that is the reason I think this is the best scene in the movie. No, it's not because they're playing pop music with a cheesy dance number. And no, it's not because of the cool set and costume designs for teenagers who have clearly been trapped here for decades. No, the reason I think this is the best scene in the movie is this is the first time I think Percy, Annabeth, and Grover are actually having fun. Every other scene in this movie has Percy just being an angsty, miserable teenager. It's not fun. It doesn't make me want to go out and have adventures. And if you wanted to have an angsty teen movie that focuses on character development like The Hunger Games, that's fine. But do that. Stop undercutting tension with these goddamn one-liners.
We getting married.
Romantic.
No. Wait, which one of y'all proposed to?
Actually develop your characters, because as it is, Annabeth and Grover do not contribute to this plot whatsoever. Annabeth mostly just exists to exposit Greek mythology information, but she only gives that info after it would have been useful.
How flippin' awesome was that? I just killed that thing.
Killed it? You only made it worse.
What are you talking about?
Percy, when you cut off one Hydra head, 2 more grow back.
And Grover is even worse. Grover is just, pun intended, horny comic relief. Like when they finally do make it to the underworld and the 3 teenagers meet Charon, the boatman of death who's talking to them, it might be interesting for them to reflect how they might die soon. Maybe one of them asks to see a deceased family member. Maybe it's time for these 3 angsty teens to explore what death means in this magical world.
Thanks for telling me, man. You burning money, we in a recession.
Cool. If there's one nice thing I could say, it's that the Underworld is a really nice set. I think it's the first time I've thought to myself, wow, this is visually interesting to look at, but it's literally for less than a minute before we get into the mind-numbingly stupid conclusion of this movie. Let's be clear, I don't think I've been very kind to this movie. I don't like it as a Percy Jackson fan, and I don't like it as a standalone movie. Up until this point, it has been a bad movie. From this point onwards, it is a frustratingly stupid movie. It really feels like the creative team just gave up at this point, because who's the first person they meet in the underworld? Oh, it's Persephone. But according to Greek mythology, because it is the summer solstice, she should not be here. Persephone only spends time in the underworld during the autumn and winter seasons. She even references this myth as being true, and then is just there and contradicts it. Also, she's a child predator now.
Satyr. I haven't had a satyr.
That's the joke. She wants to bang a teenager. Dude, fuck this movie. The trio meets Hades, who freaks out when they explain that they don't have Zeus's lightning bolt, and then Hades lets Percy reunite with his mom anyways. Okay. Oh, well, it turns out that Zeus's lightning bolt was in Percy's shield the whole time. The one given to him by Luke. And everyone quickly puts together that Luke is the lightning thief.
I'm the lightning thief.
Jesus Christ. So Luke being a twist villain is in the first Percy Jackson book. And it's supposed to be an emotional gut punch because not only is Luke the first person to really take Percy under his wing and show him what life at Camp Half-Blood is like, but he's also Annabeth's adopted brother and the only family she really has. But none of this is in the movie. If you're gonna cut out all of the emotional connection our characters have with the twist villain, why would you keep him as a twist villain? Luke and Percy have had 3 conversations, and 2 of those were about flying shoes. I cannot fathom this creative decision. The only possible explanation is so that they could have this stupid CGI fight on the Empire State Building where they're both flying around with winged shoes. It's stupid. By the way, they escaped the underworld because Persephone used the lightning bolt on Hades, and she's like,
Because he's cruel and abusive.
now she can bang Grover. Cool. Percy defeats Luke. He gives the lightning bolt back to Zeus. Zeus hits him with the whoopsie, my bad, and ends their civil war. Percy gets to meet his dad, and he's like, hey dad, why were you never there for me? And Poseidon deadass says,
just because you didn't see me doesn't mean that I wasn't there.
what? And Percy says, damn, you're right. And he happily returns to Camp Half-Blood, his true home that he spent 12 hours in. The end.
You left the camp. You disobeyed my orders.
Yeah, about that.
Which is why you're my favorite student.
What the fuck? It took me like 6 hours to watch this 2-hour movie. I had to keep stopping because I was getting upset.
Mistake.
But that's all I have for you today. If I never have to talk about or see this movie again, I think I'll be fine. If you like this style of video or you have another movie you want me to watch, please let me know. And outside of that, have a damn nice rest of y'all's day.